We're fighting a battle. We're singing the same song, trying to find someone who cares as much as we do. We're climbing the ladder while we're sinking in this boat, trying to find someone who cares.
Hello and welcome back to Babble, Scribbler, the podcast-ish-esque show. Today I am joined by Thornquill, and we're going to be talking about the fanfiction Lost and Found, and I'm going to leave Thornquill to explain who he is and what he does.
Hello everyone, as Scribbler said, I am Thornquill, and I read fanfiction over on my YouTube channel. Mostly, I tend to focus on the longer, multi-parter adventure-type stories, which Lost and Found was the first such story that I ever did on my channel, which was a bit of an ambitious undertaking, but that is primarily what I do.
You ain't kidding, that was an undertaking. Yeah. I remember when you first started posting that, you put it out an EQD and you had 4 chapters out, and I stupidly thought it was 4 chapters long. So I started listening and got to the end of the 4th chapter and went, "Oh, right, more to come then." How long was it when you finished?
It is, I think, 34 parts counting the epilogue.
And that runs to how many hours?
Over 18.
Oh my goodness, because you've probably recorded more than that, haven't you? Because if that's the final product, how much did you actually record?
Probably at least 3 to 4 times that amount.
Wow.
Of time spent recording and editing.
You have my utmost respect. I think I'd go insane if I had to do that. So I stick to one-shots and mini chapters of things because I lose interest in projects too easily. That was a definite undertaking, and you have my utmost respect for that one.
About halfway through, I really started wondering, what have I gotten myself into?
It was definitely worth it in the end. For those who haven't listened to it,
certainly.
you need to go and listen to Lost and Found. Pause this. Do remember to come back. But pause this. Go and listen to that. In several days or weeks' time, we'll see you again.
Yes. Few weeks.
Yeah, because it's 34 chapters, and if you go and read it along with it, that'd be the word. There's author's notes and thanks at the end as well, so it's actually 35 installments long.
And Cloudy's one of those ones who writes a lot in the author's notes, and it's fun to read.
Yeah, it's nearly 1,000 words. I've got the window open in front of me, because I've just realised we haven't actually said what the fic is about. So,
Nope.
Since you read it, would you like to explain very briefly and non-spoilerifically what it's about? Because we'll get into spoiler territory, but to begin with, to give people a chance to click away, just tell us what it's about.
I will do my utmost. The bulk of the fic is that Fluttershy and Applejack find themselves transported far away from Equestria into the origins of Earth Pony civilization, where the Earth Pony tribe started out, as referred to in the Hearth-Swarming Eve play. And they have to find their way back across the world back to Equestria, and meanwhile Twilight and her friends are worrying about them and trying to sort things out back in Ponyville. And the thing that I think this fic really accomplishes is that this world is huge. It feels even so much bigger than as long a story as it is, because in the space of a chapter, they will reference, well, we've been traveling for about 2 weeks now. And this is so unusual. Most pony adventures that I come across feel really fairly small and innocuous, if you know what I mean. You know, they have an adventure, and then they come back in the space of a few days, maybe, and that's all well and good.
Well, I've seen some where they go beyond. There's at least one, I can't remember the name, where Blue Blood is sort of sold into slavery and goes on a round the world adventure, and that one does some serious world building. But this one, I think that the actual world is like an extra character in the story.
Yeah, definitely.
Because it crosses all the way from Earth Pony civilization through into sort of the cradle of unicorn civilization as well, with the Spire. Yep,
they find basically Star Swirl's old laboratory where the meeting between the leaders was hosted, and then they come across the capital of the old unicorn nation preserved and, for all intents and purposes, perfectly in time.
Well, yeah, because it was all preserved with magic and the still burning fires.
Yeah.
I loved that sequence because it was a strange blend of adventure, of supernatural magical fantasy, and of ponyfic, and it had the same kind of world building feel to me as a novel like Dune, or something with that kind of scope and that kind of hugely imaginative world building. And I got that a lot from this fic.
It really does, and it really has that vast and almost isolating sense. Like Applejack and Fluttershy really, and that's part of what's so great about their characters too, is they themselves feel so small and inconsequential and just outright lost in the midst of all this that they're trying to understand and piece together.
I think that's one of the fic's main draws, because there are different draws, and there are some things that pop up halfway through that certain reviewers were very unhappy about.
Very much so.
When we go to spoilers, we'll talk about that. Well, kind of in spoilers, but we'll flag up when we're talking major spoilers. But I think the world building is a major draw for me. When I was listening to it, that I loved. I liked the chapters that flashed back to Ponyville and what was going on there. But I think I more enjoyed what was going on with Applejack and Fluttershy and the world they were seeing and the cultures and civilizations beyond that, like the Desert Kingdom or the Forest Raiders. I really liked seeing them interact with all these different creatures and different ways of life, and it felt very organic and very natural. It wasn't a case of somebody had sat down and said, I need to think how to make this different than just regular equestrian. Okay, I'll do this.
Exactly. It's like, no, there isn't just, oh, hey, look, there's desert architecture here. That culture. I think that the bazaar is the one section of the fic that everyone seems to agree on is gold and is so much fun to read. And I think that's because it really feels like a very alien culture, but still one that is understandable, both to the characters and to us, because we kind of get the idea what influenced them.
Yeah, and the characters themselves really stood out in that section, as they could have been side characters in a canon story. There's no way that canon would ever go that way, because some of the depictions, while feeling very organic in a story, I think they would make the actual creators and Hasbro themselves shy away in case they come across as racist. Because I
think they would, yeah.
It does pull a lot on Arabic culture, and it felt like something like from the UAE.
Exactly. I think it was very heavily influenced, kind of by the ancient Near East mythological idea that we have of it.
Yeah, and I don't think the show's creators would ever go that direction. I think they skirted as closely as they're going to in the show.
I kind of hope we'll see a bit more, because yeah, they did skirt close with the Saddle Arabian dignitaries.
Yeah.
And I kind of hope we'll get to see a little bit more, but I don't think we'll ever see, I
don't think we'll ever see it quite as much as we did in the Bazaar.
I don't think we'll see them going and visiting Saddle Arabia.
No. I wish I'd been in a fly on the wall in that meeting when somebody put forward that idea. Right, we've got these dignitaries from another country. What can we call it? Saddle Arabia. Are you shitting me? Do you really want to put that in a kid's show? Yeah. Let me list the reasons that this is not a good idea.
People will lose their shit.
Pretty much, yeah. Although I don't imagine that the target audience would have cared very much. They just think, haha, it's a pony pun.
Nah, it's the same parts of the audience that flip out over Cross-Eyed Pegasus.
Oh yeah, that.
Yes.
2 years later, and we're still bitter about that.
Mm-hmm. No, that's never going away.
No. So, let's go back. Let's leave that one alone before blood starts to boil.
Yes.
She's back now anyway. She may not ever talk again, but she's back in the show.
Yes.
So, in terms of Lost and Found, and this really is like major spoilers now, while Applejack and Fluttershy are trying to get home, there are two major romantic-themed plots that go on, subplots. Because there is the main plot of Let's Get Home, but there's also the storyline going on in Ponyville, and that's very, very interconnected with Fluttershy's personal character arc. Because she really does have a proper character arc in this. And it is based around the concept of Flutterdash. Now, I don't know about you. You chose to read this fic, so I'm assuming that you really like Flutterdash. Flutterdash. Fluttershy is such a hard thing to say when you've got an overbite. Yeah, an overbite and a slightly posh accent. This does not work well with that character's name. No, it is. But yes, you choose to read the fic, so I assume you like Flutterdash. Personally speaking, I've never really gotten the pairing. There's only one fic before that I've ever liked it in, and that was yours truly. Link in the doobly-doo. But I found this one eminently believable. It started out, and I didn't like it. And I actually genuinely grew to like them as a couple by the end, and to find it really believable, because I'm, Appledash shipper for life. But but I really liked Flutterdash by the end of this, and I was really surprised. So, how about you? What did you think of this when you first read it? Did you go into it liking Flutterdash, or was it something that, like me, it grew on you, or what?
I honestly didn't really know what to expect, because the fic doesn't really declare very clearly, at least not in the description, what the ship is. So,
the cover
definitely...
art's pretty indicative.
I think the cover art actually is a bit more indicative of Flutter... What is that, Flutterjack?
Yes, I think that's what it's called.
Yeah. But it really did grow on me, and this is an example of shipping that I like to see in stories where it's not the central focus. It's something that's happening along with the main line of the story. And I really liked how Fluttershy's character arc moved from her viewing Rainbow Dash as a friend that had always been there to really valuing how the support that she had been getting from Rainbow Dash all her life had shaped her as a character, and how she was trying to come to terms with both who Rainbow Dash wanted her to be and who she herself wants to be.
And who she actually is underneath it all, and who she's capable of being.
Exactly.
That's one of the things I really like. You mentioned like the support that she gets from Rainbow Dash from all her life, and that's one of the major things I really liked about this story. And there's one moment that really stood out for me, that even now I remember this. I said this before on various different places, that I download and listen to audiobooks and fanfic readings when I'm walking the dog. So it tends to be that I'll remember where I am when something important happens. And I was actually standing next to a stream, and I had Suki on the lead, and she was paddling about in the stream, cleaning mud off her feet. And this bit came up where Fluttershy, she mentioned that she didn't particularly like wide open spaces, which was a bit detrimental for a Pegasus, but Rainbow Dash never quite seemed to get that, and she just kept turning up and saying, "Do you want to go flying with me? Do you want to go flying with me? Do you want to go flying with me? What? Just come flying with me." And she would never accept that Fluttershy just didn't like flying, just didn't want to go outside. And it was sort of this irresistible force of personality. But it didn't need to be described. It was just a case of Fluttershy saying, "I don't particularly like going outside, but what could I do?" She wanted me to go outside, and she wouldn't take no for an answer, so I kept going, and it kind of went away. And yeah, little touches like that, because it just came in conversations, 20 or so chapters in, and it was such a lovely touch that I actually forgot that Suki was on the lead, and she darted forward, and I fell into the stream. As I said, I remember this because I was holding my MP3 player out of the water going, "Don't get this wet!"
Well, thank you, dog. And apparently thank you, me, for being so distracting. Or Cloudy Skies. Cloudy Skies is a distracting one.
Oh yeah, I'd never heard of Cloudy Skies before this, but I'll have to check out the stuff. It is a he, I assume?
I believe so, yes.
Right, so I'm using the right pronoun.
Yeah.
I've done that before and offended people. But yeah, stuff's really, if this is indicative of his writing style, it's very, very good.
He, the other one that he wrote that was really long is Within and Without, and I think it's kind of one of those fence issues. You either like Lost and Found more, or you like Within and Without more.
What's that one about?
That one, and it's been a while since I've read that one, so I'm not as clear on it, but that one is a Twi-Luna fic, and Twilight and Luna, and I believe others, go on a similarly huge world adventure, and I forget that's the problem. It's been so long that I forget exactly why. But I remember that, especially back when it was written, the development of Luna's character and how he portrayed her magic in certain scenes was just beautiful.
Yeah, I got that feeling from this, that he knows how to let characters breathe, and it feels, think I used the word before, very organic, the progression they go through. And regarding the shipping in this, the two ships, I think the length of the story helped with this immensely. Because it was a background issue, it had a chance to mature and feel very natural the way that it went. Whereas ship stories that are like 3,000 words long, single chapter, they don't have the same...
They have no time to breathe.
Yeah, they just feel very forced. And that's all very well and good in its way, but if the focus of your story is partly romance, because one of the tags is romance and the other one's adventure, so it's clearly something that's quite important. My personal feeling is just that it should be long enough to let this happen in a way that feels believable and not forced.
Exactly, and in this one especially, it very much feels a part of the character arc, at least especially with the Flutterdash.
Oh, you said at least with the Flutterdash. Ooh, I sense. So do you want to talk about the other pairing then?
Here we get into the more complicated territory with the other pairing. So
yeah, and this pairing, just for those who didn't know, the reviewer we were talking about earlier is PresentPerfect. PresentPerfect does fanfic reviews on fanfiction. He's quite a widely regarded fanfiction reviewer. And he left a blog post that both Thornquill and I realised was about Lost and Found. He said, I've been listening to this audiobook for ages, and it was turning out really good, and then it turned into fucking Twilestia!
Yep.
And he was really angry to the point where he made a blog post about it before he got to reviewing it. Oh.
And I saw that go up, and I was just like, oh man, I know exactly what he's talking about.
Because that one did kind of come out of left field. I was not anticipating that.
That is one thing PresentPerfect said that I really agree with, is that it does kind of come out of nowhere. And this is, just since you said you hadn't heard of Cloudy Skies before, to anyone who knows anything about Cloudy Skies, everything gets shipped. Everything out of left field and the bleachers gets shipped.
Oh dear, it's one of this.
He does that. I have mixed feelings. The Twilestia ship, I really don't have any particular issue with. But what I liked about it is that Twilight and Celestia really discuss and come to terms with kind of how awkward it is for this to come out of nowhere, and what the very heavy implications and consequences are of that relationship. And that's another thing that, a smaller shipfic probably isn't going to do. And with Twilestia, you see it more often, but they're both so hesitant in this one that they're almost unwilling to touch the possibility, and yet they're still willing to.
Yeah.
And I think that's what stood out to me that worked really well for it.
Yeah, it did seem to deal with more logistical issues than the average Twilestia fic does. I've not read many Twilestia fics. The mentor-student thing usually just makes my skin crawl.
Yeah, I think that's the issue that a lot of people have with it.
Yeah, well, a lot of people have an issue with the age gap, and it's a hell of an age gap. That doesn't bother me so much, simply because the depiction of sort of immortality, as shown by canon, doesn't seem to set any immortal and very old character as acting particularly old. Wiser, yes, but not older. So that was never a thing that I worried about. It's the mentor-student, it's the teacher-student thing. And I have to admit, I still couldn't get past it in this. That it still felt odd that she was her teacher, and then she wasn't, she was something more. The rest of it I could very much get behind, but I don't know, maybe I'd be more receptive to Twilestia in an alternate universe where they weren't teacher and student.
That's an interesting idea.
Yeah, I think they've got a good dynamic, it's just that one thing I can't get past.
The mentor-student relationship, that is definitely the most awkward bit, and the reason I can get past it in very specific instances is I can see that kind of professional relationship developing into something more once they've distanced themselves. And I very much see that with Celestia and Twilight. Twilight is, especially in this fic, but I think in just canon, is depicted as an adult. She's moved away from Celestia, and they have a much more distant relationship. So under those terms, I can sort of see how they might develop a different kind of affection
See,
under the right circumstances.
Yeah, see, even with that, I can see your logic and your reasoning on this, and yeah, I could probably follow it, but it would have to be, I think it would have to be a lot more years of Twilight being away before my gut would not roil when I saw it. I don't think in this one, I don't think she'd been away long enough, because this was written in August 2012, and in this one, it's not Twilacorn, it's Twilight. I was going to say Twilestia then. It's Twilight. So she's not at that stage yet. She's only been in Ponyville a short while. And this was, if it was August 2012, that makes this just after season 2. So if it was written at that point, she really had been gone less than a year. That doesn't feel long enough for me for this relationship to have changed that much.
I had it in my head that, I don't know, I have the old school reasoning of seasons are equivalent to years. So in my head it was 2 years since she'd been gone, and that's a little closer.
I got one Christmas and one summer, so I was counting a year.
I have no idea how time in Equestria works.
I think if I ring the bell, it doesn't half the time.
Exactly. But I think the real issue with that I have with the ship is that it is a focus that I didn't expect, and I think it does kind of let down on the mystery that was being built up in the early part of the fic. Because we have Applejack and Fluttershy piecing together what went on in the Hearthswarming play, or what went on before that. And there's these hints of this grander, darker mystery behind the Alicorn race, essentially. And it doesn't really get delivered, besides for kind of trying to say, well, Celestia has these specific limitations as an Alicorn, and it kind of leaves off with that.
I must admit, if the fics got a failing, that was the one. That there was so much build-up, and I was waiting to find out what the meaning behind the paintings were. Meaning was, not meanings were. Grammar.
Whatever.
What's that? But, let me do it now. Oh, yes, I wanted to find out what the meaning behind the paintings were. Well, I've done it again! Fuck! What is English? Not English today. But yes, I wanted to find out what the meanings behind the cave paintings were. And it didn't really get delivered. Instead, it became... the focus shifted at the last minute to the Twilestia. And it shifted away from the gigantic world building, it focused away from the Flutterdash, and it focused very much on Twilight accepting Celestia's advances, and coming to accept that there was the possibility of this relationship. And yeah, that did feel a bit wanting, because it felt like the larger plot had been forgotten in favour of shipping.
And I would almost hazard the guess that that's a safe assumption that that's exactly what happened.
Sad face.
Yeah. So, like you said, that is, I think that's the biggest issue that I have with the fic itself. Personally, obviously, I did a reading of it. The strengths still outweigh the weaknesses for me by and large.
Yeah, to effectively make you give up more than 24 hours of your life in recording hours. Not to mention editing hours. So yeah, the pull of it must have been that strong. So how do you feel about like the depiction of Celestia herself in this? How do you think that went? Because she can be portrayed different ways, and she's often sort of the motherly one, the wise old mentor figure. How do you think it went in this?
I personally really liked how Celestia was portrayed in this story, because like you said, the motherly figure and the wise old figure, those work for the show because she's almost never in the show. But if you give her this heavy a role, you need to make her a person or a pony, whatever. and I really feel that this does that, because she does doubt herself, and she's very uncertain about her relationship with Twilight and even what she wants it to turn into. And she's uncertain about her relationship with Luna and their relationship with the larger world, and why they can't just go out with an army to rescue Fluttershy and Applejack.
Yeah, because that's the major thing that really pisses off Rainbow Dash, is that they don't. that Applejack and Fluttershy, who are two of the elements of harmony, or the bearers of elements, and two really close friends of theirs, whom Celestia and Luna have both grown attached to, and they've been flung somewhere in the known universe, or maybe even the unknown universe, and Celestia and Luna won't just go out and find them, and Rainbow Dash can't understand why.
I think those are the strongest moments in the Ponyville chapters, are when you see kind of, especially Twilight and Rarity, interacting with Rainbow Dash, and how they are coming to terms with, especially after months of these two being gone. Again, this is huge. They've been gone, no word, for months.
It's close to a year by the end, isn't it?
Yeah, and they're trying in very real ways, I think, to come to terms. Especially Rarity. The scene that really hit me was when she's trying to talk to Rainbow Dash and just even voice the possibility that she needs to accept the fact that she may never see her friends again just to get on with her own life.
Yeah, because it's unfortunate, but in a real-world setting, this does happen, that people go missing, and it's a very hard thing to come to terms with. There's, it's weird to say this, that when I was growing up, there was a primary school that I was at, there was a child who went missing. It wasn't in my year group, but they never found her, and I can't even imagine what happened, what her parents went through, because there was just no sign that somebody must have come to meet her in the playground one day, and she went with them instead of her mum, who was late, and they just never found her. And that kind of not knowing what happened, of where this person had gone, it's an astronomical thought when you imagine somebody who is an integral part of your life just suddenly not being there. And not only that, you have no reason for why they are not there. If somebody dies, it's hard. My grandfather died a few years ago, and it was the hardest thing in the world to suddenly not have him there, but I knew why he wasn't there. It was horrible, but I knew why. To not know, that's mind-bending.
Mm-hmm.
So we've gone really heavy there.
That's heavy stuff.
That is heavy, considering before I was complaining about not even being able to talk properly. This happens in these podcasts. We wangle our way right from silly jokes and me swearing to really heavy issues.
And suddenly people are missing, and we have no answers.
Yeah, and I think that part of the storyline in Lost and Found was very well depicted, especially when Rainbow Dash went to Fluttershy's family and saw the effect on them.
Mm-hmm.
And those are quite strong chapters. I, as an old G1 fan, was amazed when I go, oh my god, it's Posey!
That's another thing that I keep seeing people, they just love that.
Yeah. I think of all the redesigns because I wrote a fanfic, Grimdark, about Lauren Faust's original designs for the ponies, and Fluttershy was originally meant to be Posey from an Earth Pony from G1.
Mm-hmm.
And to see a G1 pony therefore brought into Fanon, it's like, yay! Some acceptance for us old school fans.
I like that it wasn't Firefly, too. Firefly always turns up.
I think Firefly always turns up as Rainbow Dash's mum. That's what I keep saying.
Yeah, exactly.
Apart from in Rainbow Dash Academy.
That's a little different.
Have you been reading Rainbow Dash Academy? Yay!
Oh, yes. I love Dash Academy.
Yay! I actually play Firefly in the dub coming out.
I know, I'm looking forward to that.
Oh gosh, right, okay. Yeah,
I didn't know your role, but I knew that there was a dub coming out, and I was so excited when I saw that.
Yep, it's Purple Rosalind. It's going to be Rainbow Dash, and she's sort of the go-to Rainbow Dash voice. And and I'm Firefly in it, and I got cast before all the recent chapters. Oh yay! I get to make kissing noises. So yep, once again, gonna have to kiss my right hand to make some such kissing noises. Yay for acting.
Oh, huzzah for making sound effects.
Oh yes, because you started adding sound effects to your fics of late, haven't you?
I have, yes.
How are you finding that then?
It is more difficult than just doing the straight up audiobook style reading. But I find that people really seem to appreciate it. I wanted to even do it with Lost and Found, but because I hadn't been doing it, especially from the beginning where the teleportation happened, and the sound effect actually probably would have made it a bit clearer to understand what was happening. But since I didn't do it, I felt that I couldn't do it to keep it consistent.
So do you think you'll ever go back to just straight readings, or are you going to stick with sound effects?
I think it's really dependent on the fic, honestly. Like the one that I'm doing right now is a longer fic integration. I'm doing minimal sound effects with that one, just because
Because it's
I think
so freaking long.
I think it deserves it.
Yeah.
But it really depends. If I did one, especially if it was longer than Lost and Found, I think I would really hedge on it.
I think it would have to be an astronomically good fic to make you choose it if it was longer than this one. The Lost and Found at last count is 168,377 words. Only 954 of which were author's notes.
Yep. It is a right proper novel.
The right proper novel, mister. Yeah. Bring a sandwich if you're going to listen to this one, because you'll be here a while. Or do like I do.
Bring a
go on
few.
dog walk. Yeah, walk the legs off your dog, but we'll listen to this. Right, and we've been talking for 30 minutes.
Yep.
Right.
Shoot. Yeah, we have. Oh,
So we're
man.
gonna have to
It's a
call-
long fic.
It's a long fic and it's a long podcast.
There's a
Not
lot
the
of stuff
longest
in it.
podcast, I must admit. The longest podcast, I think, still belongs to Goombasa. I challenge anyone to try and beat that one, where we talked for 48 minutes about Flash Sentry.
I don't know if I could talk that long about Flash Sentry, but
Yeah, I didn't know we could do that until we did it as well, so that's... yeah! So much for keep these down to half an hour. Holy fuck!
choose shorter fics next time.
So, right, we better draw this one to a close then. So, Lost and Found. It is on Thornquill's channel, which will be linked in the description below. And it is an epically good reading, and you should all go and listen to it. Right then. Any final words? God, it sounds like I'm going to snipe you now.
Yeah, no, total sniping. Like I said, I think it has a lot more strengths than weaknesses, but there are a lot of opinions going around about it. I'm actually kind of surprised at that it stirred up a little bit of controversy. So I just would look forward to seeing any more thoughts on it, frankly.
Yep, so yeah, I'd love to hear your opinions. So what did you think of Lost and Found? And tell us in comments below. And with that, goodbye everybody.
See you next time.